show up like, whoa. I got all my people and they ready, let's go. This is how we do it, man, but y'all already know. Yeah, we on a roll, let me show up like.
The Texas Longhorns, with a shocking upset of Maryland, are headed to the Elite Eight.
Ivan Melendez could say goodnight to it.
6 games in a row.
Firing one, and finds the back of the net. Make it 7.
Do it, Rhodes. Have yourself a 3-home run contest.
I don't wanna see me when I show up like, whoa. I got all my people and they ready, let's go. This is how we do it, man, but y'all already know. Yeah, we on a roll, then we show up like,
Dutain,
Robinson spins and then a stiff arm. Another one. Oh, they get him.
Your 2021 NCAA champions, the Texas Longhorns.
Texas fans, how is it going? Welcome into the Longhorn Network studios, everybody. Special hour for you coming up because we will address everything you want and need to know about Texas athletics. This is the UT Athletics Town Hall. I'm Loa Galindo here with the star of the show. We got the University of Texas Vice President and Athletics Director Chris Del Conte. CDC, we appreciate you stopping by, sharing this time with us and all the Texas faithful out there. We got a lot of good things to talk about, building towards the future, but it's important, especially at this time, to reflect on the recent past, to understand where we're going with this program.
Well, you know, thanks for having me today. And it's, I think the star of the program is our student athletes in the University of Texas. I'm just honored to serve the great nation. But you look at where we're going, and it's, you must kind of drive in a car, right? You're driving the car, you're looking out the front window, but you must look in the rearview mirror to see where we've been. And this past year has probably been the year like no other. And I tell our staff all the time, this is like the movie Perfect Storm. You know, you think about that a year ago, we had the call that the NCAA was shut down basketball for the year. We're in the middle of no basketball. What is it going to look like? The NCAA, President Fembas shut down school at the University of Texas. People are going home, no more athletics. And you're kind of wondering what was taking place with COVID. And at that time, that's one storm in itself. And we're just trying to figure out how to navigate through. And the second storm was civil unrest couple weeks later. George Floyd, and I know the trial's going on right now a year after the fact, but we're dealing with Breonna Taylor and all the things that were happening with civil unrest in our country. And then you have economic downturn. All these storms and how you navigate them. Where's the lighthouse? Where's the beacon? The beacon has always been the University of Texas. But we have to navigate these 3 storms. And it's been a trying time. And I can sit here today in our town hall to say, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. But boy, it took a lot out of you. It took a lot out of you.
Yeah, it's affected everybody in really every way. And it's taken a community to bring everybody together, to have something to hopefully look forward to. And we're now seeing that, the light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccinations now out. A lot of the student athletes and staff members are getting that vaccination, and we'll get into that. But there is finally reason to focus on Texas athletics and be excited. And we've seen these recent hires, and you are going out and you are getting the guys on the top of your list. And the most recent has been Chris Beard, bringing him back to the University of Texas.
Well, I think we need to, those are the winning traditions, the University of Texas shall not be entrusted to the timid nor the weak. I love that saying. Yeah. And when you're dealing with the University of Texas, you know, and even in the Bible, everyone loves David. Everyone loves David, the story. But at the University of Texas, we're not David. Not saying we're Goliath, but we're not David. You have to understand those who operate in the landscape with the University of Texas. And when we hired Vic Schaefer, I remember talking to Jody Conrad. She goes, Coach, you got to go get him. I said, I get it, I understand. Texas basketball, women's basketball needs to be in the place where it's at. I remember we actually agreed to him to come to be our coach. It was so exciting. I called President Fembas, can you welcome our new coach? He goes, I'd love to do that, but I'm on my way to Emory. That's how I found out he wasn't here. I'm like, really? It was crazy, but I'm glad of the fact that a couple weeks later that Chairman Alteif appointed interim president and now our current president, Jay Harsel, to be the University of Texas president. He's an awesome individual, great friend, but great leader. And he understands the power and the brand of University of Texas. And every time we talk about a hire, he goes, who are we going to go get? Let's go get the very best. This is who we are, who we aspire to be. And having a chance to go talk to Chris Beard and bring him home was critical for us because we knew that he loved, that this is where he went to school. He loved the University of Texas. He did a great job at Texas Tech, but we had some challenges in ourselves to overcome. And when we made him that faithful pitch over Egg McMuffin, he said yes at the Comfort Inn, and the rest is history. And to follow that up, and we're so excited about him. We're excited about Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
And what he brings to the table at the University of Texas in our football program. But we have a lot of great coaches. Today we're playing volleyball in the Elite Eight. And Chris Blonsky and DeLoss Dodds built this program to what it is today, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. And we're doing great things.
Well, Chris Beard even said it wasn't about the money when he made the move from Texas Tech, where he was well paid, coming to the University of Texas. So you were obviously getting these #1 choices without just paying more than everybody else. So there has to be something else about the athletics department right now that is helping you attract this top talent. What is that?
I think it's the history and tradition of the University of Texas. A lot of people think that they can win a national championship. We know we can win a national championship. It's been proven that we can win a national championship in every single sport we compete in. We have an incredible fan base, an incredible institution. Leadership has never been more aligned in its history between Chairman Alteif and President Hartzell to the athletic department to our entire campus. Leadership is in lockstep. And people feed off that and see that. And you think of all the things that we've gone through this past year, the beacon has been the University of Texas. The burnt orange and white shines through. And I think when you start talking to coaches and they realize, that's a place I can go win, I want to be a part of that. It's exciting to be a part of that. So it's never about dollars and cents, but it's about the ultimate goal of winning a championship.
Well, you talk about the beacon, and the tower has been one of those beacons, and it's been lit up because we look at the recent success in terms of athletic programs winning Big 12 championships, and there's a lot to talk about. You see the list here, and these are the teams most recently. Volleyball, they've made that their tradition, and of course, when it comes to swimming and diving, it's just a matter of time. When do they light up the tower?
Well, you think about Big 12 championships. Our goal is to win a national championship in every sport and be a top 10 program. When you hired me a couple of years ago, the first thing I said is we need to be a top 10 program in every sport we participate in. And if you're a top 10 program, that means you are having a chance to win a national championship. You never know what's going to happen once you get in the tournament, right? You never know what's going to happen. But once you get in, can you have a success? Look what happened with Vic getting into our women's basketball tournament. They scrapped and got themselves to Elite Eight. And they all look, well, you never know. And if you're in the top 10, that means you're knocking on the door of winning a national championship. And to me, that's what defines the University of Texas. Our conference championships are great. We just won both tennises this past weekend, which was awesome.
Yeah.
We got indoor track and field, and now we got outdoor track and field coming up next. So I like the fact that we're winning Big 12 championships, but we got to win the Natty. And that's what Eddie Reese, and I refer to him as Yoda.
He's won them all.
Won them all. How about this? He's won a national championship for sure 7 presidents. He did remind me one day, he goes, CDC, I just let you know I'm the last coach hired by Darrell Royal.
Well, that's the incredible thing.
That's crazy.
He is the link to the greatest era of Texas sports, led by Darrell Royal.
Isn't that nuts? When you think about him and what he meant to Coach Royal, and he's last coach hired by Coach Royal, that just tells you the excellence. And he's defined that excellence. And we got to live up to that.
Then you've made the point, one of the greatest coaches, regardless of sport, of all time.
Without a doubt. Consistency. You think about it. He won in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, 2010, 2020. You think about all those decades he's won it in, and all the trips to the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, think through that.
It's just tradition.
It's just tradition. It is. Eddie defines swimming in this country. And you can think about a coach, but I don't think there's a coach that's had 6 decades of dominance like he's had.
So Eddie Reese has set the standard. As we see here, we'll bring up some other names, though, of coaches that have been recognized for the job that they have done. And ultimately, it's about passing it on to the student athletes. But when you have a list like this, you have to point out that the right people are in charge of these programs and they're getting the recognition for the work they are doing.
I mean, that just speaks volumes to the culture that was built. I think when you think of the leadership that came before me, that I'm just so fortunate to follow. They hired great coaches. Success, when you hire coaches, you hire that guy. No. Success has 1,000 friends. Failure is an orphan.
Yeah.
right? And we all stand by guys that win. So I always look and say, do your very best job to hire the very best coaches. And whether it be Donald Opiano, Jody Conrad, Chris Blonsky, or it'd be DeLoss Dodds, Steve or Mike or myself, our job is to hold up the winning traditions of this great institution. And that's what makes Texas such a great place to work, because you can win. But it's hard because, every day someone will remind you that you're not doing your job. And I love those emails. I call them up and say, I'm sorry, we're not meeting your standards, but we're doing our very best to get there.
Well, it's not just winning, but it's winning with integrity, doing it the right way. And these student athletes that are helping win those championships are also the people that are giving back to their community. Reflect on that, the job that you've seen them do in their community. With a lot of these initiatives are started by the student athletes themselves.
It's interesting. It goes back to Jody Conrad, too, way back in the day when she started Neighborhood Longhorns. Her and Coach Penders, right? And the idea was, let's go back and give it to our community. Let's start something where the outreach is into the city of Austin and say, guess what? You can come. East Austin, if you're a student, you can come to the University of Texas. Your dreams can be fulfilled here. And that idea of giving back has been entrenched in our culture since the 80s. And that's what makes it great now when you think about 2021. You're building off something that has a big historical length. Similar academically, I think all of our teams this past year finished above a 3.0. We are doing an amazing job in the classroom. I mean, an amazing job. And this is what I love about the fact that student athletes come here and understand that the eyes are on everywhere that you do, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be in the playing fields, in the community, wherever they are, everyone watches what you do. So I love the fact that it's winning with integrity, because that's what we believe in. We uphold those values.
When you look at the numbers here, that middle stat, 217 student athletes on the academic all Big 12 team, that led the conference. So Texas leading the way when it comes to wins on the court, the playing surface, but that's in the classroom as well. You also have Big 12 Scholar Athletes of the Year. So these are the people, including Sam Ehlinger, that truly represent what it is to play and study at the University of Texas.
You know what's phenomenal about that stat, too, is the University of Texas is one of the top 10 public institutions in the world.
It's not easy here.
It's not easy. When you come here to get a degree that will change your perspective in your life through education. So when you start to see what these student athletes are doing, it is awesome.
Yeah.
And I know CP is chomping at the bit to build a brand new academic center. We're going to start that hopefully this summer. Sean Eichhorst, the budget man, is making sure we have the do-re-mi to do it. But we got to keep up to make sure that we put ourselves in a position that we're doing the things we need to do on and off the field.
And we're going to get into all of that coming up on this town hall. Next, we will get into those facility upgrades and also the finances that go into making those upgrades happen. Welcome back to the Texas Athletics Town Hall. Laura Galindo here with CDC, and it's time to talk about finances, the budget. And at a place like University of Texas, everybody knows it brings in a lot of revenue, but to keep this machine running, it costs a lot. And I would imagine there's been significant impacts because of COVID.
Without question, I want to give a big shout out to Sean Eichhorst and Rob Novak, who head up our business areas for us. And I think this past spring when COVID first hit, we didn't realize the financial impact. And when COVID hit and the NCAA shut down, we knew we had no sports. And at that point in time, we had to figure out how our budget was going to be impacted for the following year. We didn't know what attendance was going to be the following year. We didn't know how it was going to be moved forward. As we started to continue to learn, we thought, are we going to have 100% attendance? We were hoping for 50% attendance when we started to see unravel things that were happening. And as we made adjustments last spring, really proud of our staff and our coaches that we were able to roughly save about $19–20 million last spring by just the things that we did, preparing for this coming fiscal year. And as we came through the year, we realized that at one point in time we thought we were going to have 50% attendance, which was we could manage it a little bit because of the savings and the good work that Rob and Sean had put forth. But when we got to early August, they said, no, you're going to go down to 25% attendance. We had to make some painful decisions. We made layoffs, we made furloughs, we did a lot of cuts put forth. Our coaches really got involved in saying this is how we can manage our budget for the year. And at that point in time, being down 75% of our revenue, it was critical. And I'm really proud of the effort of our entire staff. I'm proud of the effort that Sean and his staff put forth to put us in a position that we could balance our budget through the hard effort, not encumber any money from the institution. We're solely financed by ourselves. I'm really proud of the fact that the work that we've done put us in a position that by the skin of our teeth, we're able to, using up all our reserves, to land this plane this year. But boy, we got a lot of work to do. And it's not a one-year problem for us, it's a two-year problem, because we know what we're gonna have to do looking forward is getting ourselves out of this malaise. I do anticipate 100% attendance this fall and all things moving forward and us getting back to normal. But this has been a real trying time, a lot of tears, a lot of tough conversations. And then we made changes that we weren't expecting. Coaching changes at the time I didn't really want to make at the beginning of the year, just knowing what we were dealing with from an economic standpoint, but realizing we had to make those changes if we wanted to move forward in any fashion that we felt to restore the University of Texas to its glory. But you don't anticipate these type of changes when you're looking at a financial deficit that you're facing. And that's what I'm really proud of, is that we really buckled down and we put ourselves in positions to be where we're at today.
Describe the health of the Longhorn Foundation at this point in time and how giving is going.
You know, I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Amy Follen. She was here, did a wonderful job for us, and she left right in the middle of this to go to be her own athletic director at Central Michigan University. But I tell you what, the faithful, this is what makes Texas great when you look at those numbers. They have been unbelievable. We've raised a significant amount of money for capital campaigns. Our annual giving program has been great. And we knew this past year that the house was not going to be full. We said those that could not come to DCare, if they wanted their money back, we gave them back. Some said no, forward to next year. Some said credit me. That just tells you what University of Texas means to people. But our foundation now headed up by Andrew Hamer, who is an incredible human being, got a great staff. Amy left him in unbelievable shape, and he's taken it to a new level. And we're off and running. We anticipate great things from him and his staff.
Well, it really is a sign of the times when we consider how some of those upgrades are currently being used. You opened the Frank Dinius Family Texas Athletics Hall of Fame, and it's a beautiful facility that pays honor and homage to all the great champions of the past at the University of Texas. But with COVID, it turned into a very active center when it came to a testing site, and it was completely changed. But it kept its significance and importance to keeping the student athletes and the staff healthy.
Not only that, but you know, Alan Harden is head of our sports medicine, along with Dr. Bray. He's an awesome man, and he loves our student athletes. I love the fact that he set up the testing center in the Dinius Hall of Fame, because you had to walk in there every day and just see greatness as you're getting your COVID test every single day. And you walk around and go, this is why you come to the University of Texas. We are here to be safe, but we're honoring the people that are here, and we want to be in that room. So every day I watched our student athletes do the test, and I walk in there. I watch them, they get a chance to walk around, and they got a reminder every single day who came before them, at the same time that they have to put their legacy next. So it was funny to see it become a testing center, but I also love the fact that they'd get tested and just walk around and go, all right, I get this, I'm next. It was cool.
Well, Eddie Reese talked a lot about that as well, just how committed his student athletes were to taking care of themselves, putting themselves out of danger as much as possible, and they went through a season, won a championship with no positives.
You know, all of our student athletes, I want to say we had like 30,000 tests, 30,000 tests, and maybe
so averaging 1,000 tests per week.
Correct.
Incredible.
And we had about 180 positives throughout the whole year. Incredible.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was coming off spring break, coming off winter break, going home.
A lot of
Thanksgiving
travel
break,
involved.
A lot of travel.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of our student athletes because they really focused on what was the prize. Because remember, we weren't going to have sport. There was a time that we were not going to have sport.
Yeah.
Last year, the hardest part for me was to go to every single one of our spring sports, which we were ranked 1, 2, or 3 in the country, and telling them, you have no chance of winning a national championship. Eddie would have won it last year. Right? Carol finished 3rd this year. She might have won it last year. Our softball team had just beaten UCLA. Our track programs were off and running. Baseball was just surging. All these teams, you're telling them, your season is over. You have no chance to compete for a national championship. They were crushed. As we got into the summer, there was talk we were not going to have sport at all. Remember the Big Ten and the Pac-12 opted not to have football. We had to sit down and have long discussions about what it was going to look like. And this is where Dr. Bray, our unsung hero in the medical department, came in and said, here's how we can navigate it. And they asked our student athletes to be a partner with us and monitor their behavior and working through that. And Alan and his team did a wonderful job of setting up the Hall of Fame as a testing area for us every single day. But the kudos goes to them. But they were also super crushed. They were crushed that they didn't have their unfinished business.
Yeah.
So them realizing, and the hard part about COVID is sport has been a huge part of uniting.
Mm-hmm. Always has.
But guess what? You can't unite when you're around a pandemic. And it was really hard. It was hard watching our student athletes just struggle with no fans in the stands, struggle with can't go to class.
The uncertainty.
Uncertainty. So trying to provide them some normalcy. One of the things that we sat down with the leadership team is let's give our student athletes normalcy. Do everything we can to provide them something that they can hold on to for an experience. And this is what the COVID year was as we started to open up our stadiums to get to 25%, was giving them something they could say, guess what? There's something tangible for them.
But ultimately, the only way we as a community get back to normalcy is through vaccinations and getting as many people vaccinated as possible. Right now, the number stands, I believe, at 84% of the Texas student athletes and staff have received at least one dose of a vaccine. How is that going, and what's the timetable in terms of getting everybody vaccinated?
Oh, well, we'll be completely vaccinated, and I like the process. But President Hartzell had laid out a plan with our mayor and our community to make sure we followed protocols. We started vaccinating those that came out, the rollout, right? So It's just now coming to our student athletes and staff. But if you get a chance, you want to see a well-oiled machine, go to the vaccination house in Gregory Gym. It's a model for the country to follow. What we've done at the University of Texas, and what we say what starts here changes the world. Not only that, our doctors were intimately involved in creating the vaccine.
That's awesome.
I mean, it is special. What we started here, when you look at what would happen to vaccinations, our doctors were intimately involved on campus, our researchers, but the way we rolled out, there's 1,000 vaccines a day rolling out of Gregory Gym. So now we're getting our student athletes vaccinated, and I look forward. But you know what? I expect us to be 100% attendance in the fall, but we need everyone to be vaccinated. I'm not going to ask for the passport. I don't need a walk. Do you have your vaccination passport? But we're going to trust that we do that because we need to do that for society. And sport brings us together. But in the middle of a pandemic, we weren't together, and that created a lot of camps.
Mm-hmm. Well, the vaccination's by far the most important activity around campus right now, but you can't help but notice the other activity. And we're talking about the cranes all around the campus at the University of Texas. So many improvements that are done and coming that we'll talk about next. Welcome back to the Texas Athletics Town Hall. I'm Logan Lindo here with Chris Del Conte. And right now, CDC, a lot of cranes with a lot of action going on around the Texas campus. $800 million worth of capital improvements and projects going on right now.
Scary when you say that number, $800 million. It rolls off your tongue so easily.
It's easy for me to say, yeah.
Easily, so easy when we have, but I can't thank our donors, those that love the Longhorns, for their faith in the last 3 years to be in this position. That when I got here was we needed to improve our facilities. We needed to combine our athletic programs and improve our facilities. And for us to be sitting here 3 years into my tenure working for you all, to have $800 million worth of projects coming out of the ground or finished, some days it's scary because you walk around and going, oh my gosh, here we're dealing with all the budget ramifications. We're dealing with everything around that's going wrong with COVID. And yet you're looking at our student athletes in their eyes saying, gosh, thanks for us having a season. But I can't wait to move into that. And so it's given us a lot of hope. And it's a lot of hope. So it's been an exciting part of that. But it's not for the faint of heart.
Well, you get that energetic feeling when you see the projects either being finished or coming closer to completion. And the South End Zone is one of those projects. You talk about every great stadium has something iconic about it. You've got the Green Monster, you've got Touchdown Jesus, and everything in between. The South End Zone with that Longhorn, to see it coming together, that will be iconic.
Oh, without question. And you know, it's funny when you start to look at this project has been envisioned for a long, long time. That building was built for Coach Royal. It was renovated for John Makovic. and for us to go back and start to reinvest in the facility today. And DeLoss Dodds did a wonderful job of leading our program for 33 years. And then for us to get together and say this is the final piece of what he envisioned.
Yeah.
And then our donors to believe in that has been great. But the entire facility, I remember when I would come visit here and we'd say, gosh, dang it, boy, our football operations building is not what it needs to be. And for us to get it to a par now, it is going to be spectacular. From the weight room, training room, to all the things our student athletes are going to need on a daily basis to be the very best, to the amenities we want for our donors, and then for us to have an offices that we welcome recruits in. It's going to be spectacular.
It's fitting for a place like the University of Texas. A lot of those premium spots are selling out or have sold out, but you have some availability at the Field Club right now, which is one of the most unique seating areas, places to view a game in college football. You're right down on the field.
What was interesting, well, we have what I refer to them as, we had 10 people come and give us $10 million each for us to start the project, which I thank them. I refer to them all the time as our team owners because they're funny. You know, I say, hey guys, I need you. They're the individuals that said we believe in this mission. And Amy and Andrew did a wonderful job of securing gifts for us to put this in a position. But we started looking at creating a fan environment that's so different, so unique, because we're asking people to spend their discretionary income with us. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at how you're going to value what they're doing or not doing. And one of the things we looked at as we studied stadiums around the country is I love what Jerry Jones did at Cowboy Stadium, where the team runs out, but there's big old energy right around there. And we came in, and I know my friend Scott Strickland at Mississippi State did something similar. So we looked at, and Drew is an alum of Mississippi State. So we looked at and said, okay, what do they do? We always pick and choose things from around the country that we thought were unique. And for this, to have the team run out in front of all our fans, to be down there, to be on the field, to see all the energy, and then to have club seats and have this idea that every single day you get a chance to be on Campbell Williams Field as a team runs out. That is big, big. And to see the schedule we're playing, we got Alabama, we got Georgia, we got Florida, Michigan, Ohio State, plus the plethora of Big 12 teams we have coming in. And with Steve, he just knows, him being at Washington, being at USC, being at Alabama, and along at the Falcons, he had great ideas as well, so he's added his touches.
So football, obviously important, but there's so much more going on. From the Moody Center, you have new training facilities for softball and baseball. Rowing is coming up as well. And then for track and field and soccer, all those projects are either close to completion or done.
Let's go to the Moody Center. I'm Tim Lewicki, and I love the fact that when the president had hired me, he said, hey, we'd like to have an arena. Didn't know how we were going to do it, but President Fembus was really involved in this thought. And we started to go forward, and we had a lot of negotiations over the year, and Sean Eichhorst was intimately involved with me as we started to work our way through this, not only to build a 4-story basketball practice facility for our men's and women's basketball team, that we actually have a rowing center in there as well, but creating the best arena in the country. And this is where I got the chance to meet McConaughey and Lewicki, and they had a great plan together. And I'm telling you right now, we are going to have an incredible basketball arena thanks to them. And thanks to Mr. Moody for a generous gift of $130 million, the largest gift ever given in intercollegiate athletics at the University of Texas. And Ross Moody and his family said, you know what, I want our name on that, because it's going to be something musically for the city of Austin, but it's going to be the finest basketball arena in the country for us. So for those two to do that together and put ourselves in a practice facility, and then what we started to do is addressing every one of our facilities. So Dan Brown, significant baseball, loves him some baseball. We built a baseball facility. All those donors came in and did that. We did the same thing for softball. Eddie had been promised a pool when he was here when he got recruited here. Eddie was promised a pool from Del Royal. That's what he tells you on his 1978 recruiting trip. So
an outdoor pool, right?
An outdoor pool. So we got him a new pool. We were able to put, it's pretty funny with that way. Then you look at new outdoor pool that he wanted for recruiting, but also for our student athletes to use when it's hot outside. They get a chance to swim. The finest indoor facility in the Jamel indoor facility, the natatorium, is incredible. So these two things are great. We had the Mid-Off Center spent a significant amount of money upgrading that facility for soccer and track and field. So every one of our facilities have been touched. Mm-hmm. When someone walks in and says, there's nothing finer than the University of Texas, what starts here changes the world, we are living up to that right now. And one of the things you can't do is get complacent. We've got to continue to always reinvest, making sure that that we stay at the top of the heap in what we're doing. And when we're done with all this, we have one more big thing. We got to do an indoor.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to football indoor. Up there, the bubble is just not what we'd like it to be right now. It's phenomenal, served its purpose, but we'd like to get a permanent structure there. And so if there's any donors out there, when I come by, it's like going to church. I'm going to ask you to tithe a little bit. Don't get nervous, but we need to make that happen. And then what we'll do from now on out is every 2 or 3 years, we'll sit down with Sean and Arthur, whoever oversees our facility, Joe Barons, and continue to figure out ways to upgrade and make sure that we don't get behind anymore, that we don't have to have this mad push all in 1 or 2 years, that every year just becomes part of what we're doing.
Well, it seems like these projects are equal part player development and game day experience. And the best way to support Texas athletics and see that more projects get done are by showing up, being loud, and supporting the cause. And we'll get into some important notes with season tickets coming up on the Town Hall.
He's going for the corner. He's got it.
Welcome home to the best family reunion ever.
To the unrivaled tradition that is Texas Longhorns football.
Fan tradition for you.
Welcome home to all your old favorites and then some. We've got a new coach, and we like what he's saying.
It's time to go to work. This work will be all gas and no brakes.
Especially that part. We renamed our field after my brothers.
Not one, but two Texas legends. And we added an unbelievable new south end zone that finally encloses the stadium. Trust me, we all want to win.
So hold on to your seat.
Because you definitely want to be in it when we host some big-time opponents. Bama, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, and Florida. Not that you need any more reason to renew your season tickets, but you got them anyway. Most of all, let's get back together, cheering on our Longhorns, side by side. This is home, so check this out. Get your horns up, because the excitement of Texas game day is back, and it's better than ever.
Because home is where the horns are.
Listen to VY. Renew those season tickets, become a season ticket holder. And CDC, there's a lot of significance in why people should go out and become season ticket holders now this year.
Well, I think when we looked at this, we're trying to create the greatest family reunion. We've been locked up for a long, almost a year, trying to get back to normalcy. And we talked about getting vaccinated. We talked about getting back to some semblance of normalcy. One of the things we want to do is make sure we invite 100,000 people in DKR. This comes September, another 100,000 outside. You think that we're trying to create is the place to be 6-7 times a year in Austin, Texas. And with the schedule we have put forth, and we were asking people, they can lock in their pricing now if they renew. One of the things I really want to do is make sure that I'm not here to price gouge. We're here to try to make sure that we are solvent, that we create the environment that our students, athletes deserve, but more importantly,
no increase in season tickets.
No increase in season tickets, but that we want to say, guess what? Your discretionary income is important to you as an individual, and it's important to us that we become good stewards of your money. At the same time that we provide you the very best entertainment that you can have. So when you think about when we created Austin City Limits, we created Beaver Boulevard, we created the Midway, all the things that we're doing around our game is to say, guess what? My discretionary income that I want to bring my family to, I want to go to DKR. It's a place to be. And we're going to spend an entire Saturday. We want to welcome people back to campus. And we're looking at when we say the Horns are in Austin, Texas, is where they need to be. This family reunion type event is going to be phenomenal this year. Drew has told me that it is going to be bigger than better than it's ever going to be, so I can't wait to see it. But we need everyone back in DKR this fall, and I'm assured that myself that I'm expecting 100% attendance in the fall.
It's going to be exciting and well worth the wait. To clarify, when it comes to purchasing season tickets, if you purchase this year, you are locked in with that price. But if you've already purchased in the past, even though this is the last year, you are good. You're good.
It's just, what it is, we have a program in here where we're trying to make sure that as we start to keep making sure that we're evolving as we move forward, we have a program that's the entire stadium is scaled a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And we're making sure that those can lock in those prices right now as we move forward. But this is a big year for everybody.
And big because expectations are high. They're always high at the University of Texas.
Without question.
But Sarkisian coming in and with his pedigree, knowing that it's going back hopefully to 100% capacity and having that game day experience, that atmosphere as well. That was one of the frustrating things, right, of part of this shutdown is the momentum that this program had in terms of that game day atmosphere. That was really starting to pick up and take off.
It was amazing, and I thank our team for that. Chuck has done a wonderful job, and Drew's whole team putting that in place, along with our partners at IMG. And you can just see we were ready just to blow it out this year.
Yeah.
And that's been what the hard part about what we've been dealing with. This sport has been such a huge part of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, with this pandemic, we were not connected. And it was such a tough part. And I can't wait for us to get back this fall in DKR with the band, with the pomp and circumstance, everything, and our football program. And we're all just sitting there saying this is what it means to be a Texas Longhorn.
Well, you see that beautiful south end zone that's coming up. We talked about the Moody Center. There's a lot of projects going on around campus, which will also lead to some naturally expected delays and challenges when it comes to transportation around the stadium. So what do people need to keep in mind when it comes to the game day experience and getting around this year?
Well, you know what we're looking at too is just making sure we have it. Dedmon's going to be completely open. So we know we're in the middle of building the Moody Center right now. Mm-hmm. And we're going to open that all the way up to hits the 15th, which will be awesome because you come out of Maynard Garage, working with our city partners to create a better ingress and egresses. So as much as we have construction going on, there's a huge plan in place. Arthur Johnson heading this up with our officials on campus and the police downtown is to create a much improved process. But anytime you move 100,000 people into a stadium, it's going to be a little patience. It's going to be required, but I like where we're going.
There's going to be some construction. But that's okay because we know where it's leading.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, and that's what we spent a lot of time talking about. A lot of good things happening right now. Of course, the Texas Spring Game is right around the corner. You can catch that on Saturday. First time to see Stark out on the field with this Texas football program. The game day experience will start with Texas Game Day presented by St. David's Healthcare. That's at noon Central Time. Then the Orange and White Spring Game presented by Living Spaces at 1 p.m. Central. And then we wrap everything up with Texas Game Day Final. All of that is coming up right here on LHN. And your questions are coming in for that man. Look at him swagged out. Are the questions going to be about your suit game? Maybe, probably not. Stay tuned. Welcome back. It's time for the final segment of our Texas Athletics Town Hall with Chris Del Conte, CDC. We'll get into some questions. But before we go there, explain what leverage is and why that is significant at this point in time.
Well, I think there's two things. We have a Forever Texas program, which when a student athlete comes to the University of Texas to get a great degree, right? Only 2% of our student athletes go pro. When you think through that, mind-boggling, right?
Yeah.
They all aspire to be in the NFL, WNBA. They all aspire to be in Major League Baseball. But the reality is, or go to the Olympics, but they may not. So Aaron Dunn and Kaiten Hyden, and Aaron Dunn, who oversees our Forever Texas program along with K-Wash, created this incredible program that students who come here, they have a chance to change their life through education. So we have an entire program which we have interviews, we do mentoring, we do buy them suits, etiquette dinners, all the things preparing them for life of getting an interview, then providing micro internships around the country. So when they graduate here, they have a job. And that Forever Texas program is linked not only to Letterman, but it's linked to employers all over the country. We have over 600,000 living alumni.
Wow. And
we're asking them to come back and open the doors for for them to follow. So it's really a cool thing. And then the Leverage program was a byproduct of that was name, image, and likeness came out. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? Is it that there's bills put in place today that says a student athlete is be able to profit from their own individual name, image, and likeness. And that team got together and said, let's start to figure out ways that a student athlete can come to the University of Texas and what is their true name, image, and likeness worth, and how are they going to be able to see value in that as they move forward. And we know that we're ever changing in terms of college athletics, and this is a new landscape that's being put forth right now. We wanted to make sure that the University of Texas is leading. Kind of like Talladega Nights, right? If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
We're first.
Because we still don't know exactly when those changes will take place, but you're putting in the process and the steps. So whenever they get the green light, they can take advantage of it.
Without question. Right now, obviously, there's the Austin case is being heard right now in the Supreme Court. We have every state is putting a different bill in and what name, image, likeness could be. So we know that at some point in time there's going to have to be some federal conversations because one law can't be for one state and not the other. So we're looking, but it's putting the building blocks in place that when and if the University of Texas is leading in that front, and that goes back to our leadership. Aaron Dunn has done a wonderful job along with Kevin Wash in terms of our Forever Texas program. And then with our leverage program, we also have Caden Hyde has been really working because he heads up our media and digital media to have student athletes realize this is where it's going and how can you see yourself not only with the time at the University of Texas, but off making your own personal name and likeness valuable.
We have time now for some questions from alums, supporters, fans. A lot of them are about the Eyes of Texas. So what are your thoughts initially about the Eyes?
Well, or anything else that you looked at this past fall with civil unrest. As we're going through the trial right now of George Floyd, I sit back every day and I kind of look at what sport was. And the hard part about sport is it was such a part of our society, and sport has played a huge role. When you think about Jesse Owens in the 36 games, Wilma Rudolph, Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali, Juan Carlos in the 68 Olympic Games, Billie Jean King in the Title IX movement, to our own Jody Conrad as a pioneer, and Chris Polanski as a pioneer during those times, to where we're at today. They've all played significant roles in creating awareness to civil unrest in our society and what we needed to make sure to make America better. And what I'm really proud of our student athletes is they came forward and asked us for help. Asked us for help in their own communities. Every one of our student athletes will tell you that the University of Texas is special. They love the University of Texas, what it does for them. And they're reaching out for help in their own communities. And they go, but here's what we ought to take a look at what's going on campus. And we talked about buildings named on campus. We talked about how do we honor our first African Americans. They asked us to set money aside to go, what is going on with our communities? We need your help. So we did a bunch of things that I thought our student athletes were asking for. I go, man, this is awesome. And when they came up to the Eyes, they go, you know, we've heard this. Is this really what it means? And I remember sitting back saying, you know, to me, the first time I heard of the Eyes of Texas, where it meant something to me in such a profound way, was I went to Johnny Lamb's funeral. I didn't know Mr. Lamb. I knew he came here in 1976 as a high school kid and won the Olympic gold medal on the 4x1 relay. I knew he played for the New York Jets, and I knew he was a Longhorn legend, but I didn't know much about him. And as a congregation, Ebenezer Baptist Church here in town, as they were leading his casket away, they sang the Eyes of Texas. And I wept because I was so overcome with the power of Texas. I'd only been here a year and a half. So I think that the idea to me is, what do the Eyes mean? Kids were asking. This is what we have been told. Is this it? And Dr. Reddick has written a wonderful report and says, I understand where it was originated, but let's talk about what it's evolved to and what it means today. Because where it was first performed is not really what this Eyes was about. So I have a different understanding, a different meaning. So I love the questions that they asked. I love the fact that where we're landed today is that we're now having communication. One of the things you look at today, too, is I'm right, you're wrong, you're right, I'm wrong. We've never been farther apart as a country than we are today. And sport is always that uniting component. I cannot wait to get back in the fall where we can unite around each other, because this pandemic, we are not allowed to be around each other. And then the internet and all the things that you read and you hear and all the craziness that goes on out there, whatever happened to just hugging people, love them, and just sitting across the way and say, I love you. And our teams are leading the way in that. So I enjoyed the process of learning with our student athletes. I understand where the report came out at. I understand what we're doing. And President Hartzell said, this is our song. This is who we are. And we're going to continue to play and sing the song. But at the end of the day, we also have conversations about the University of Texas, conversations about what's going on in our society, and making sure that we together make our place better for everybody.
Next question is far less significant. It has to do with season tickets and availability for Texas baseball. And Mr. Scott wants to know, will more seats and or my usual season ticket seating be available for Texas baseball later in the season and or for potential regional?
We're keeping it at 25% capacity right now. With every single day, every single game, we do sell single game tickets. and not one person has been turned away for single game tickets. So as we continue to get vaccinated, as we continue to learn more, making sure that we're following all protocols, I do anticipate more opportunities. But I can assure you, anyone that wants to watch Texas baseball, Texas softball, they will not be denied. They will not be denied. Trust me.
All right, Christian McCormick has a question about playing surfaces. Will we see natural grass on the football and baseball fields anytime soon?
I love that question. The coaches, obviously we just put field turf down, and we've always had field turf or AstroTurf in the baseball stadium.
Oh, yeah.
It's been the historical thing. No one really liked ever coming to Texas because you got to play in that AstroTurf and you had grass outside. In the football stadium, I do anticipate probably changing the rug this year. We got to do something because that thing is about 12 years old. But that does not mean that we will not go to grass at some point in time. My conversation with Steve Sarkisian will be, what do you want and what do you need? We also got to look at the growing patterns of grass, how the shadows with all the new south end zone. But I do anticipate changing the rug, making sure the colors all match correctly this summer. That does not mean that we would not go down to natural grass in the future, because all you do is move it up and move out. So don't get alarmed by that if I do make that change. But two, with baseball, I think both of them should be on natural grass. I love natural grass. I think it's fantastic. However, who has the ultimate say is our head football coach and our head baseball coach.
The men, Sark and Coach Pierce. Chris Kroger, finally, in addition to the actions you are taking to making UT athletics the best it can be, what actions will you take to help make the Big 12 a stronger and rightfully more respected conference?
I think anything that we need to do is just be competitive and win. You think about across the board, every one of our teams are competing and winning national championships. And we've done a great job. I think someone says, well, we know that football and men's basketball are the keys that go, whoa, they're really good athletic program. They're good in basketball. They're good in football. When you look at the totality of our 20 teams, no one matches what the University of Texas is doing. So we just got to be great in all of our sports and realize that Baylor just won a national championship in basketball. First time since the Texas, Southwest Texas, or what was the team? UTEP.
Yep.
They were called something.
Texas Western.
Texas Western. Phenomenal, right? But as long as we are doing, Oklahoma's made the CFP, we got to make the CFP and we got to play a national championship. That's what the University of Texas expects of us. That's what I expect of our coaches in our program. We do that, all things are taken care of.
Expectations are always here, and you're taking them head on, like Chris Beard took them head on in his introductory press conference. That's basically the Texas way. CDC, thank you so much for sharing time and your thoughts on the direction of this Texas athletics program. It's exciting to hear what's in store in the future.
Appreciate you very much for having me today, and I appreciate the Longhorn Nation for supporting our athletic program as we are here to represent you on a daily basis. Appreciate you. Hook 'em.
And we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching the University of Texas Athletics Town Hall.